to Hospitality Today Live. I'm Deborah Gardner, your host, here for another segment of some exciting conversations, which happens to be sponsored by Pick2 Multimedia that offers your audiovisual needs on the road. You know, Hospitality Today Live advocates on a global industry basis for the hospitality industry while providing great conversations, as I mentioned, on best practices, challenges that we're facing in the industry, stories and lessons that have been learned. And it identifies ways to work together for the benefit of the industry as well. And each week, we invite the most talented, the experienced and dedicated professionals that can share their expertise for you and I to learn and grow. So today, what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce to you my good friend now, Joseph Lara. So let's bring him on here. Hi, Joseph.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Deborah. How are you?
Great. I'm glad you are here today. Thank you so much. By the way, my dad's name is Joseph, so it's real easy to
yeah,
Joseph these days, no doubt. And on top of that, did you notice on the intro and the outro of this show, you made the clip?
I did. I'm actually hoping that you'll take a clip from this interview we're doing today and replace the one, because the day that we spoke, I was kind of casual in a polo shirt and kind of scruffy.
Hey, we could do that. We could do anything nowadays, right, with this technology, especially in your shoes. You know, you were the founder and the managing director for the Knowledge Exchange, and right, which happens to be one of the fastest growing invitation only hospitality trade showcases for the meetings industry. You're also the co-creator of SaveTheMeetings.org, which is so impressive. It's a campaign, and as well as the executive producer and creator of Mission Control, which draws about 12,000 senior elite level meeting and event professionals.
It's actually mission critical.
Oh, mission critical. Thank you for saying that. I always have to check myself on that. So I think it's just wonderful that you are just so on it, especially during this difficult time that we're all involved in. But before we get into those three areas as well, let the viewers know, your fans know a little bit about you.
Wow, this was like a dating profile. I like long walks on the beach. So yeah, no, I am the founder of the Knowledge Exchange, as well as the creator of SaveTheMeetings.org and Mission Critical, which is the largest and most widely viewed virtual telecast right now. Really an amazing thing that's happened with us being able to go virtual. While a lot of people have seen the drawback of the industry, we actually grew and found a way to not just create another webinar, another online program, actually create a brand that is now being followed massively. And when I look at the companies and the senior level planners that are following it, it's kind of like politics and business has the World Economic Forum, and marketing and planners have Mission Critical. I mean, it's really crazy when you look at your attendee list, for your broadcast, and you see the people that pre-registered, and you see, everybody from, World Bank and Goldman Sachs down to Coca-Cola and Home Depot and Walmart, and, just these massive lists of companies, Johnson & Johnson, Kellogg's, several hundred national associations. It's really a crazy thing to see. But we love it.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of crazy, what have you been doing lately during this crazy time other than so busy with this area?
Outside of this, my life really revolves around homeschool these days. I have 7-year-old twin boys, so that keeps us going from 9 in the morning until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, doing second grade math. And realizing at 40 years old, I can't do second grade math.
Yeah, math is not one of my favorite either as well. But at least you're in this industry where you have a lot of creativity and,
yes,
and you know what you're doing. Your son might go girls, but you've got that expertise here.
Right. I actually take it back. I can do second grade math. I don't want the viewers to think I can. I'm not that dense. I just I have to ask the teacher occasionally.
Prefer not to, right? So how did you get started, especially with these three areas that I really want to dive into, and I know your viewers and fans want to hear about this. How did this all start, and what does each one represent? Go ahead and share all this.
Well, a long time ago. No, actually, my starting in the industry, and it kind of shaped everything that I do now, everything I've done in my career, was I started with Big Apple Circus as director of events. And, it's kind of like the movie The Wizard of Oz. I viewed the events industry as being very traditional and very black and white, like the beginning of the movie. And then once you step into the performing arts arena, and once you step into something like the circus, and you have to plan events under the big top, and you're working with performers, and you're doing all these things, suddenly your aspect of all this just becomes like panoramic 360-degree, Technicolor surround sound view of the industry. And you realize that kind of anything and everything are possible. So around 5 years ago, when I started Knowledge Exchange, I was looking at the other trade events in the industry. And what was going on, and what I was seeing was that there was a lot of tradition. There was a lot of speed dating and a lot of very kind of bland kind of corporate events. And I said, we need to make this more fun. There's a way that we can, a crossroads where we can meet tradition and imagination. It doesn't have to be, I don't want to say the boring, but it doesn't have to be the traditional type of event. Because people like wow factor. People like, to be amazed. They want to be awed. They want to be shocked by something, and entertained. And and so we created Knowledge Exchange to really be the offset to that. And so we have become known up until March for staging, really crazy events. Where we had, we always had a selection of really super high-end planners, corporate, which is why we have such a great following of Mission Critical now, as well, but also for just having fun with it. I mean, here we are, the first event we did back in 2017, I think it was, in Washington, D.C. We were at the Howard Theater in Shaw. And, here you're in very conservative Washington, D.C., and you have people coming in from the military and from the political world and the associations. And we've been very blessed to have a lot of, embassy people and foreign dignitaries and American dignitaries that have attended our events for their cultural affairs purposes and their to get ideas for their cultural events. And so you're in this very conservative kind of headquarters. And, all of a sudden you walk into my event and there's a tank in the middle of the floor with a live mermaid swimming around. And there's people juggling, or there's acrobats, or there's a giant LED martini glass with a contortionist inside. And so it really kind of took off from there until March, when, obviously, because of the pandemic, we were forced to slam the brakes on everything, at least face to face, which opened up new opportunities for us. I created the Save the Meetings campaign because in the wake of the pandemic, there was a lot of inaction. In fact, a tremendous amount of inaction. And it was really surprising to me because we have so many organizations and associations in the events industry and in the hospitality industry. And there was kind of this massive freeze where everybody stopped. And all you were getting every week was kind of this weekly, emails kind of patting you on the back and saying, "It's okay, we're here for you. By the way, don't forget to pay your dues." Nobody was really addressing what was going on. And so we sat down and my partners and I and said, we need to create something that is going to have impact and it's going to help people. It's going to help move the industry past this, whenever we're able to do that. And so we created Save the Meetings campaign. And that has multiple parts. One part, obviously, is our face-to-face roadshows, which we're going to be launching as soon as we're able. Obviously, there's a big comfort level thing with that, with people wanting to come out to a face-to-face event again. I know we're at a point right now where it's happening in dribs and drabs. The second part of all this was the Elevate program, which we're going to be launching that soon as well, virtually. Elevate are going to be virtual events for job seekers in the meetings and events and hospitality industry. To connect them and kind of pool our resources, because at the end of the day, who better to tell you about how to get the most out of your LinkedIn page than LinkedIn? Right. Who better to do these things? And so we've been pooling our resources and the planners we deal with and the companies that we work with and saying, you know, we could put on some really spectacular stuff to just educate job seekers and help them. And then we have Mission Critical, which was the final piece of the puzzle, which was in the interim, was creating a virtual experience for planners to keep them learning and keep the wheels turning and keep them dreaming and imagining, and being bold, because that's really what the time calls for right now, is a lot of boldness. We have to have bold actions, and we have to have bold thoughts and bold dreams and bold plans. We can't afford to sit back, and I know there's a lot of people that are sitting back and waiting for tradition and saying, well, you know, we need to push for live events again. And it's, yeah, we can, and they will come back. I have the utmost confidence that live events will come back, you know, but in the meantime, we all need to get into innovation mode and to figure out what that next step is going to be.
Right, right. And because today's challenges, it actually requires today's action. It
Right.
sounds like that's what you have been doing. And I didn't know about the Elevate. That is really interesting, because we're finding in the hospitality industry, there's a lot of jobs have been lost. I've been following 40,000 plus hospitality frontline and back of the house type of our professionals that aren't even really looking to return to the hospitality industry.
Right.
I believe senior living is where a majority of them are going, or real estate, something more available to them. But with your Elevate project here, this might create some hope for them to turn to you.
We're trying to just help people get by. I mean, we all know what it's like to be on the unemployment line. We all know what it's like to face this. I myself know more than anybody. When I created Knowledge Exchange, I mean, I was at one of the lowest points of my career, where I had, been laid off and was just, I was out of work for over a year trying to figure out what to do. And my answer was to get creative.
Right.
And luckily it blossomed. But we've all been there before. So it's, we need to just, my personal feeling with things is, whether it's with Knowledge Exchange or Mission Critical or Save the Meetings, if we can't help the hospitality industry when it's at its worst, okay, if we can't help these people when they're at their lowest, then we don't deserve to have their business when they're at their best. And it's plain and simple to me. Because trade organizations, the associations, and even companies like mine, we rely so much on hospitality. Because they're our partners. They are the ones that are exhibiting, sponsoring, funding, hosting, putting up food and beverage and putting up ballrooms and giving us space and working with all of us to put on every trade event you see. Because that's kind of the little secret in the industry, is that every trade event that you go to, where there's planners attending, that's connecting planners and suppliers, it's because that venue has put up the space for us to do that. And a lot of times they've put up food and beverage, and they've put up different things. So that was part of what angered me so much about the inaction in things when the pandemic hit, was the fact that we rely on hospitality so much. And all the industry associations, like I said, they froze. I'm not going to say they turned their back on hospitality, but they froze. They didn't act.
Right.
They didn't know how to act. And I know that's part of it as well, was that nobody knew what we were going to do. And that was also part of the foundations of Mission Critical was, I kind of looked around at the associations and the industry and said, okay, what is everybody doing in the wake of this? Because we were all in the same position for the first time, big or small, no matter what company it was. We're all sitting there going, what's the next step? What do I do? I don't know.
Totally different than what we're used to.
A lot of people started putting content online that was homogenous. It was bland, talking heads, and it was just webinar after webinar after webinar. And that's why even back in June, they were, you're starting to see articles come out talking about, are people getting webinar burnout? Are people getting virtual burnout? And so we held back. We held back until May, until we had a concrete idea, and our whole foundation for Mission Critical was, we need to create a broadcast television show. So like one of our producers was with CBS for 16 years. And our technical producer has been in television broadcasts for over, 20 something years. So we're all very much intertwined in that. And we came to the idea that if a virtual program is going to work, it has to be quality. It has to be engaging, and it has to be enticing, and it has to be creative and imaginative. And so we took some really huge chances from the first step, from the beginning. that paid off hugely for us. I think the biggest risk I took in the first episode was we decided to shock everybody, and I opened the first episode standing in the lobby of a conference center, which back in May was a huge deal. And of course, a few months before that, it would not have mattered at all. But the fact that I was standing in the lobby of the Heldrick Hotel in New Brunswick, which was only about 10 minutes from my house, and it was just an idea that I got to show, hey, you know what? They had just opened on a payroll protection loan. And I said, let's show that it's okay. It's okay to stand in a hotel. It's okay to be in a hotel. It's okay to do this. So we opened in the lobby of the Heldrick, and then each transition I had during the show, I moved into a different room and I filmed for an entire day there and pre-recorded the whole thing, moving from room to room. So one segment I was by the bar when I introduced the entertainment. I was in one of the theaters, in one of the conference rooms. We were down in the lobby. We were out by the pool. So it was the planners reacted so great to it, and they thought, because they felt like they were getting a virtual tour of the hotel by me just taking the risk of being in different parts. And it was really wonderful. The reception to it was amazing. And so because of that, we've decided to expound on that. Last episode, we went down to Nashville. We had a co-host, at the Noel Hotel and at Redneck Riviera in Nashville. John Rich was our guest performer, country star, Grammy-nominated country star John Rich. And I had the very tricky, very nerve-wracking experience of having to film my segments from New York at a venue called The Edge, which is the tallest observation deck in the Western Hemisphere. And so I literally filmed about 2 weeks before the MTV VMAs went in and filmed at the same location, out on this observation deck, 110 stories above Manhattan. And so we've just continually built on that. Now for our next episode coming up in October, we're going to be doing an East Coast, West Coast hybrid. We're going to be going on site at multiple properties, one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast, to show what reopening looks like and show what hybrid looks like now and what these things are. And we're doing that just, again, to show that it's okay. Being in a hotel is okay. Thinking about virtual is okay. I feel like planners need to feel like they have permission nowadays, because we're all so pent up about this, and we're all so worried. And so we've been on this mission with Mission Critical. Obviously, the mission has been letting people know that it's okay, and at the same time supporting hospitality. We had a partnership at the last episode with Grubhub. We staged the largest mass virtual luncheon that's ever been done. We treated 1,000 viewers to lunch during the episode with Grubhub. And it was an amazing thing to see it. And for us, it wasn't just about treating viewers to lunch, though. It was about supporting 1,000 hospitality businesses, because if you actually look at what we were doing, that was 1,000 restaurants that got orders that day. That was 1,000 businesses that benefited directly financially from what we were doing.
Wow. That's amazing. And I'm hoping your backdrop, that all these beautiful flowers are going to be able to be used in one of these events too, because that is beautiful behind you.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm out on my deck, and I think in the yard behind me, somebody's blowing leaves, so I apologize.
Hey, that's live TV for you, right? But, regarding all of this, and what great information, and I'm just in awe with what you are doing. Safety is definitely in the DNA of all our clients. And just this morning on Event Shift, they were talking about the top 3 factors for feeling safe at live events. Not so much virtual, but live. And they talk about the effect of COVID-19 therapy, about 10%. They talk about government permission, 12%. But everybody seems to be waiting for the COVID-19 vaccine. That was about 51% that they said. What is your feeling and thoughts about that moving forward when we do get, really going with live events, and how that's going to affect your business?
Well, I would definitely agree with the numbers. I can see the majority of people waiting for a vaccine. I know in the planners we've interviewed on our show, they've talked highly about waiting till spring of 2021. It's just one of those things that I think we're going to see We're starting to see dribs and drabs, like I said, of the hybrid coming back now. But I think once you get into spring, summer 2021, you're really going to see the return of that, because what people realize, I think, is that you can, it was okay to punt on 2020 because we were scared. It was a pandemic, and we said, okay, so, because we all started. I mean, in March, we were saying hopefully in May. And in May, we were saying hopefully in June. And by July, we were all saying, okay, 2021. So it's okay to punt on these things. And I think people felt that it was okay to punt on 2020 because of the pandemic. But at the same point, we can't do that 2 years in a row. We can make up coming into 2021 lost ground, but we can't, do that again for next year. And just kind of say, okay, so I think whether it's going to be physical, face-to-face, or hybrid or virtual, I think you're going to see a lot coming into 2021 again, a lot of different events and a lot of different things happening.
Well, you actually have done so much, actually, in a very short period of time that this has actually been created. But if you were able to go back to the beginning of COVID jumping into our lives, would you have done anything different? Do you look at anything that you thought maybe you would have changed, or are you really where you want to be?
I think we're where we want to be right now.
Good.
I don't think there's much that I would have changed going back to the beginning of this. I probably would have taken it more seriously. I feel like my mindset in all this has went kind of 180. Because in the beginning, I was one of those people saying, oh, no, we need to go back to live as soon as possible. We need to go back to events as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And we all did that in March. And it took a couple of months for the magnitude of it, I think, to really sink in. I know for us, I'm in the New York, New Jersey area. So for me, being in the New York metropolitan area, we were one of the first real epicenters of this outbreak. So we saw the most kind of damage and the highest death tolls here in the beginning, and just to see New York City completely shut down was surreal. And so to go and to go back to the beginning, I mean, like I said, my mindset has just changed from, we need to go back, to now I look at the people that are staging live events. And, even though they say, okay, well, we're doing it safely, my question is always, yes, but how safe is it really?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you're doing a mock expo in the Orlando Convention Center or in any other place, how safe is that really? When you're bringing together 500 or 400 or 100 or 1,000 people, it isn't. There's no way to really guarantee safety, because it could start from here.
Right.
It could start from one person, and I think the other hesitancy for me is that the CDC and the World Health Organization keep changing things.
And it confuses us when they do that.
It does. Things keep changing, and is it water droplets? Now it's aerosol. Now, we're still learning about it. So I think what people need to experience, we already went through a spring dealing with the virus. We went through a summer dealing with the virus. And that was important because people automatically said, oh my God, it's, the boardwalks and the beaches are going to be packed and we're going to have these major spikes and major this and major that. And for the most part, we didn't. We've had, yes, a steady increase in cases. There's been steady cases, in states around the country, but we never had the massive world-changing spike we expected.
Yeah.
And so I think the last hurdle of that is going to be going through fall of 2020 and winter 2021 and seeing how COVID plays out with cold and flu season. Because if we don't see any major world-changing spikes through cold and flu season, through going through a winter with this, then you know what? By spring, people are going to feel much more comfortable to start doing things again. My other feeling is that we really need to just focus right now, though, on innovation and on how we can create experience. Like one of the guests we had on our last episode, Bob Bejan, who's head of global events and marketing for Microsoft, he gave us this amazing tidbit, and I'm just as much a student of my show as I am the producer. And so I'm sitting there taking notes while Bob was talking, and he gave us this really amazing tidbit, talking about, we can't take the beats of a live event and translate it perfectly into virtual. It just doesn't work. A live exhibit hall, the way we were doing it, doesn't translate to virtual. Certain things don't translate into the virtual sphere. So we have to create new experiences. And so that was the way we did it with Mission Critical. And that is what is the best advice I can give people for the future, is just we have to focus on innovation and creating new experiences for people. I sit down and I could think of many different ways, just in talking to planners, that hotels could still be marketing themselves and still be becoming useful to planners and still be out there, talking with planners and getting business in, by looking outside of the traditional of just, what we know. I know there's a comfort level with what we know in we're going to sell a group, or we're going to sell a block of rooms, or we're going to sell this or that. There's a built-in comfort level with that. But at the same point, we need to stretch outside. As long as you're getting a fee for your space, does it matter whether you're selling the ballroom for a wedding or an event, or whether you're selling it because a CEO wants to broadcast from a stage? Hotels should be, and I'm sure there are some, that are, doing pop-up studios. Turn the space you have into pop-up studios. These are the things that people need. We need workspaces. They need studios where they can go, like I did with the Heldrick, and go close to your house within 10 or 15-minute drive, and be able to go and do a live stream from a stage, that looks better than your backyard where somebody's leaf blowing behind you, or looks better than sitting in your living room or your home office. That production value and that production quality is just so crucial right now to everything. And that's why with Mission Critical, especially, we wanted to have that quality and that value. And we wanted to make it professional grade, because the content is very important, but it's also about the experience. And they really play hand in hand. It has to be content matched with experience. And as long as both of them are quality and they're engaging and they're innovative, people are going to flock to it. We started, with Mission Critical. I remember the first production meeting we had. We said, okay, if we get 150 viewers, we'll be happy. Because we averaged around 200 people for one of our live shows. We'd have about 200 planners come. So we said, okay, if we can get 150 people, we'll be happy. And then we opened pre-registration, and we registered 1,000.
Wow.
In 3 weeks, and we went, wow. And this was all based off of marketing that we created that, again, even our marketing down to like the logo you just showed on TV, the astronaut with the logo reflected in his helmet. Even our marketing, everything we've done has been very out of the box and different, and people want that special feeling. They want that wow factor. But we registered 1,000 people pre-registered. And then after the first episode, we kind of had a rap meeting with our technical people and all of our production team. And I'll never forget turning on to Bob Kelly, who was our producer, and I said, Bob, so how many people actually viewed the broadcast? Because we're used to, the face-to-face equation, which is if you register 500 people, 300 are going to show up. And I said, okay, so Bob, how many people, tuned in for the broadcast? Because we had put the link online. And he pulled up the numbers and he goes, oh my God. And I said, what? And he goes, we had 2,500 people.
Oh, wow.
That logged in to view. And I went, everybody shared the link to this around the web. And I went, oh my God. And then in the weeks following that, we picked up another 3,500 people on demand that had streamed it on demand. And so it's like, and we've stayed steady with those numbers, with around 6,000 people per episode. We're averaging, 40 to 50,000 web impressions a month on our website. And I think the most important statistic that I would say with Mission Critical is that we're keeping people 94%, the last episode, and 94% of the people that logged on. We had a 5-minute build-up in the first 5 minutes of the show with people getting to the actual, getting onto the show. But once we got on, 94% of the people that logged on stayed for the entire hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
We had virtually, if you look at the graph for the episode, we had virtually no drop from that 5-minute buildup straight through to the end of the show. Because, again, we're going on site. We're doing things that nobody else is doing. and saying, okay, how every episode, how can we be more innovative? How can we be more creative with this? How can we engage people and reach through the screen like we did with Grubhub and touch people and talk to people? And, you know, say, you know, like I said, we're going to buy you lunch. You know, we're already having conversations with Grubhub about hopefully making it a regular thing where every episode we pick, you know, so many people that are viewing to get lunch on us, because it was so massively successful between the two of us. And that's, you know, another part of it is the engagement. We do a virtual VIP bag. We do a virtual exhibit hall. That's, you know, we're working with the VIP bag rather. We're working with a top company out of Europe, out of Germany, that co-developed it with us. Our exhibit hall, we're working with another company out of Denver that co-developed it with us, to be really, really stunning virtual pieces that can stand up on their own. And now we've actually started transitioning into another segment of my business that I didn't see coming in the beginning, which is mission critical production services. Because now I have the planners that are viewing it emailing me saying, can you do this for us?
They want more. They want more.
We sat down and said, yeah, we got our whole team together and said, yes, we're going to start a production company. And we're going to start talking to the planners and saying, yeah, we can do this for you too. You know, we have all the tools. We know all the platforms. We're on a custom platform that we created. And so we've done custom stuff. We have projects in the pipeline already, you know, including a massive global platform for a selection of global agriculture shows that are going to be, you know, throughout the year, a year's worth of shows that we're going to be doing around the world. So it's like
legs to where.
So we're just, you know, that
you're successful throughout the whole way. Definitely.
It's always surprising to me. It's, you know, I'm humbled by it. I'm humbled by the reception we've gotten in the industry, and I'm humbled by even you just having me on your show. You know, we're growing so fast, and yet not I'm one of the humblest people you'll meet. That's just, you know, sitting in my backyard, happy to just not be homeschooling right now.
Well, you're just going. We're going to have you back. But for those of you that have just joined us, we're here with Joseph, Lara, and you're missing a lot. Let me tell you, there's what he has done in such a very short period of time, taking advantage of the situation, the challenges that we're dealing with today. And if anybody has any questions, by all means,
yes, absolutely. Ask away.
If there are any type of questions that you might have for Joseph, let's ask him right now. We only have a couple more minutes left because we're just full of wealth of information here. Now, the question that I want to ask you, Joseph, now is, what if, you know, we know that you've got this other area where you want to help those that, you know, get some jobs in the hospitality industry. So what would be some advice that you would give someone that wants to pursue a career in your area of expertise?
My advice would be, one, be as creative as possible, and be prepared to be as creative as possible, because you don't get to stand head and shoulders above other people by being like anybody else. You know, it's kind of like the old Barnum quote, nobody made a difference by being like everybody else. And I kind of live by that quote, because it's, you know, the people that make impact in the end are the people that are willing to dream, and willing to dream big and bold and plan bold and think bold, like I said earlier, and be bold about what they're doing. You know, playing it safe is fun, and there's a lot of people I know that play it very safe. But I think what's made me successful is always willing to be a renegade. I've always been willing to take a risk and try something, and even though it might not be the most popular thing, even though I have, you know, I might have corporate people on my team saying, you know, the more conservative white collar corporate types saying, no, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. You know, even though we may have that, at the end of the day, you know, you have to be willing to take that risk and step out and say, you know what, I don't know what the reception of this is going to be like, but I got to go for it. Whether it's marketing, whether it's the broadcast, the event, whatever you're doing, you know, be willing and hungry to go for it. And don't let anybody tell you anything different. You know, if you believe it's good, it'll be good. And so I've just been relentless in that. I'm very a very perseverant person in what I do, because I believe in it so much. I believe that we have the power to make change. Even a tiny little company like myself that was started with one event in New York and turned it into 16 dates a year, and then turned it into this hugely successful brand virtually, and took the worst that this pandemic has had to throw at us and said, okay, how can we transform and succeed with that? So, and I think we may have gotten a comment or a question in from Desi Whitney.
Yeah, actually, Desi.
Sorry, I'm used to being the host of my own show, so I'm like, we're going to cut to a question. Yeah?
Give us a question, Desi. She's definitely checking out the show. And Desi's been in the industry a long time as well. Very smart lady, and I'm sure she'll have a question and she'll be back, no doubt. But I know that you've given so much advice to our hospitality peeps right now. When we get past this and everything, we want to get into our new reality. I don't want to say new normal, because right now we're in the now normal. Is there any advice that you would give beyond what you just shared right now? I loved it. Moving forward, once we get out of this, what does it look like to us? What do you want to see happen?
I really think the future, like I said, come next year, as we start seeing it pump up more and more with the hybrid. It's really hybrid events. I cannot see going back to the model we had with knowledge exchange. I see it being part of our equation moving forward, but not the whole equation. I think we're very much a hybrid business now, where we're going to have kind of the smaller regional dates where we're getting 50, 100, 200 people together. But we're also going to be live streaming a lot of what we're doing and creating experience online for our virtual audience, because that's the other part that's been really interesting about virtual with Mission Critical, has been that we have, torn down borders. With the virtual world, we've now figured out a way that we can work around the world, that we can reach out and connect with people around the world without having to get on a plane, without having to deal with hotels and all these things. Suddenly an event like mine for planners, we're not attracting just 150 people or 200 people in DC or in Philadelphia or New York or Boston. Now we're talking to planners, and this has been one of the great things at Mission Critical, all around the world. We have planners that are watching from the UK, from Australia, from South Africa, from different parts of Europe, and from all over the United States. So I think virtual, now that people are experiencing it, I really think that people are going to see that is really just a core component for the future of things. That's not going to be going away anytime soon, and I think we'll just be adding the hybrid elements to it.
Well, you certainly are an inspiration in this industry. There is no doubt about it. I've been in this industry 30 years, and I've never met anyone so driven and so successful because of it, because you didn't just sit there on the couch during all of this. You really took advantage of this time to put something new and different into place, and I believe the whole industry is going to just ring from what you have brought to the table, and already have as well. So putting you on the other side, though, who is your influential in the industry, or maybe not in the industry? Where are you getting this drive? Where are you getting this brilliancy?
It's actually a funny story.
Good.
So I talk about my background a lot. So one thing most people don't know about me was that I actually, when I was 19, I passed the Series 7 exam, and I became a licensed stockbroker.
Oh my goodness!
I was going to school at night. I started training during the day, and I thought, finance seems nice. And what I had walked into was kind of like, the meeting, the Alec Baldwin's meeting from Glengarry Glen Ross, where he's chewing everybody out. That's what it was on a daily basis. But what it taught me at that young age, what I learned in that firm, was just perseverance. It was never giving up. It was just every phone call was a fight. You were fighting to sell this hot deal, this hot stock pick to somebody. And so I did that for a short time. And when I left and I was in the magazine publishing world for a long time, it was like a breath of fresh air, because now sales was so easy for me, and developing relationships in business was so easy because it wasn't that high pressure. You got to buy right this second. Oh my God, the stock is going to go out the window. And so I kind of found, my first mentor was Marty Porter from CMP Media, who nicknamed me the Warrior 20 years ago. Because I was 22 years old at the time. And, I was traveling around the country already, and I was, working on the show daily for the CES show and for all these major, trade shows. Whatchamacallit. And so then I just, it all sprung from there. Learning, to just be fearless. Because the worst thing that anybody can ever say to you is just no. And once you have that ingrained in your mind, that you don't have to be afraid. I've never been afraid to make a phone call. I've never been afraid to reach out to somebody, even when, again, to bring it back into the context of Mission Critical, our speakers have been tremendous. And they continue to be tremendous speakers that we've brought on. We've had the head of global events for S&P Global. We've had the VP of events for McCann World Group. The head of U.S. event marketing for RBC Capital. We've had the head of event marketing for SAP. A director of planning for the NAACP was in our very first episode, Gina Lawrence. And then obviously the last episode we had Bob Bejan, again, the head of global events and marketing for Microsoft. And now we're planning for our next episode in October. We're going to have Helen Stoddard with us as one of our key interviews, who's going to the head of events and experiences for Twitter. And we would not have any of these people if I was fearful or if I was apprehensive about reaching out to them, because I didn't know any of these people ahead of time. I didn't know Bob Bejan ahead of time. It was literally, I was willing to make the call or send the email and say, hey, we're producing this really great show for planners. I would love to just have you on and talk to you. I'd love to have you just be a part of this. And, and you'll never know when you get an email in return saying, yeah, I'd love to. Same thing with almost all the speakers. We've had the entertainers, getting someone like a Grammy-nominated star like John Rich, or, our first episode, we had Michael Cavanaugh, who was the star moving out on Broadway, who performed from his home studio in Las Vegas. So, getting these people, it's just, you have to have this certain fearlessness about it. And this kind of mindset that the worst thing somebody can say to you is just no. And I hear no all the time. I hear no, I'm busy, I can't do it, I have another obligation or whatnot. So, it's just going and going and going until you finally hit and get what you need.
It's all about being fearless in this industry.
It is. It's about being fearless and about being creative.
Yeah, and we're all very hungry for creativity, and everybody's looking for something new and different. And I'm finding that even my clients are looking for what's new and different that a speaker hasn't done before.
Right.
That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Like things up my sleeve. But I wanted to share this comment from Randall, a friend of mine. He's totally agreeing with you on this. And that's important. That's all important that we're all on the same page in this sense as well. So thank you, Randall, for your comment. I think you're definitely spot on with what Joseph is actually sharing today. There's no doubt.
It's all about the wow factor.
It is.
People, you have to understand, working in the virtual world now, it's really easy to click in and out of things. And I'm just as guilty of doing that, where I click into something and 5 minutes later I go, and I click out.
Yes.
Because it's just not appealing to me. People need that wow factor. That's where the production quality, the content, and all the engagement, all this stuff mixed in together creates that wow factor. Right. From the marketing, it has to be from the base marketing of whatever the event or whatever the product is, and carry over into all of it. Because in a physical world, when we do physical events, you have that experience factor of, I'm flying out to the conference, I'm staying in a hotel, I'll go to the sessions during the day, and there's an exhibit hall, and I'm networking, and at night I'll have dinner with colleagues or clients or whatever. And there's this whole experience about it that will keep people there for days, for 3 days or 4 days or whatever, however long the conference is, and it'll keep them tied in. With virtual, we don't have that luxury. We're missing that experience, that physical experience of I'm flying there. So we're just clicking in. So while it's easier than ever for people to click in and watch, what keeps people with Mission Critical for an hour and 20 minutes, what keeps people with us and continually wanting to watch it and be a part of it, it's the creativity and the wow factor in the marketing. It's the wow factor in the presentation and the content and everything we're doing, and tied up into that package of wow. And that's what, people stay for that experience. Nobody wants to go sit in on a webinar of 45 minutes of a talking head. So they're going, Bueller. Like, nobody wants that. They'll step in and check it out for a minute, and then as quick as they stepped in, they'll step right out. They want that, and that's where that circus background of mine comes in, is creating that awe. It's creating that wow factor and saying, okay, we need to be big and colorful and bold, and we need to think huge on a bigger scale than just a webinar. I remember the first incarnation of Mission Critical that we talked about was going to be on Zoom. And somebody, said, oh, we should do something on Zoom. And I went, no. I am not doing another Zoom thing that everybody was doing Zoom at the time. I'm not doing another Zoom webinar. I'm not doing, we need to have production quality and value with us.
Right. I'm a big believer. When they zig, you zag. And that's the only way to differentiate yourself, stand out, so that you can offer a service for your clients of great engagement, so they can explore new contacts. The audience is key, because they're our boss too. Without with their feedback, that's when we're going to be hired again, and we're here about making our clients look good. But the audience is boss as well, so you have to really be careful with that. Well, Joseph, what you do a great job with the podcast as well, and the show. With Mission Critical, and I'm thinking here outside the box with a question here that you're probably not going to be expecting, but if you were in my shoes right now as the show host right here, what would you have asked yourself that I haven't yet?
Wow, that is a loaded question.
Are you a good cooker? Like a cooker?
That is a loaded question that I'd have to actually give a second's thought to. I was not prepared for that. No, I think you've done a wonderful job. I don't know if there's anything that I haven't really covered, as I've sat here with my big mouth going on and on about.
No, great information.
About all this stuff and what's made us us. I don't know. I like I said, I think you've done a wonderful job.
Good. I'm glad I covered as much, because your viewers, your fans want to know everything that is going on with you. And so how can everyone contact you for more information? I've got a couple information here for people to contact you.
Yeah, so you can go to contact me through savethemeetings.org, or you can email me directly at jlara@theknowledge-exchange.com.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has just been a delight to have you with us. I'm sure people are just in wow with this brilliancy, and I'm following you more and more now that I know a lot more what you're doing and what you're going to be doing. My always said, be proud of what you've accomplished. Now be proud of what you're about to accomplish.
Right.
And there's no doubt that you have a lot more that you're going to be accomplishing. So for the viewers out there to watch you and see what else is going to be offered, it's going to benefit them in the long run. So I'm just thrilled that you were able to share this information with us, and please come back, because I'm gonna want to know more.
Yes, whenever you want. I'm at your service.
It's a complete delight. So thank you so much for being with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Whoops, I'm going to definitely take a chance here to see about getting you to there. Here we go. Well, thank you again. That was such a delight having Joseph, Lara on our show today. What an inspiration for each and every one of us to get off the couch and totally utilize some new things and new ways of doing things. So I hope you really enjoyed this segment with us today. And if you did, by golly, you know what? Definitely, join us if you'd like to, or at least contact us if you'd like to be on the show, or if you know anybody that would, because we're all about advocating the industry for those that are working in it, whether it's the front of the house, the back of the house. We want to know about you and what your aspirations and great dreams are in this industry, because we're only getting stronger together. Now, next week, I have Sheila Smith with us, who is a wonderful, innovative leader herself that has held many different important roles in the industry, from catering to sales to community work, media relations. But like Sheila, she has an incredible story that she wants to share, mainly her struggles during this pandemic. And we know many of us have gone through the struggles. So we want to make sure that she actually gets to share that with you. And I'm sure you're going to relate. Many of you will be relating to it as well during this pandemic. But yet, here's the thing about her. We're going to find out what she's doing about it, because she's fueling her new attitude, whether it's her personal or her professional life, while creating positive experiences. So don't miss that conversation that we're going to have next Tuesday, same time, right here on Hospitality Today Live. In the meantime, in the spirit of hospitality, I'm Deborah Gardner, your host, and I hope that you have a very productive, successful week.